The autumn sun cast long shadows across the winding roads of the Appalachian Mountains, painting the landscape in hues of amber and gold. Daniel Walker sat in his weathered pickup truck, his loyal German Shepherd, Rex, alert beside him. The former Special Forces agent turned private investigator had spent the last 15 years building a reputation for solving cases that others couldn't or wouldn't touch. But this time, something felt different. The mysterious phone call he'd received 3 days ago still echoed in his mind. A distorted voice had warned him about suspicious activities at the Black Talon Security Company, a private firm with connections reaching into the highest levels of local government. The caller had mentioned something about encrypted files and a figure known only as the Shadow before the line went dead. Rex's ears suddenly perked up, his posture tensing. Daniel had learned to trust his partner's instincts. They'd saved his life more times than he could count. Through the rearview mirror, he spotted a group of motorcycles approaching, their engines growing louder against the mountain silence. The Steel Vipers, a local motorcycle club known for their territorial nature, had been unusually active in these remote areas lately. Daniel pulled off onto a hidden dirt road, concealing his truck behind thick foliage. As the motorcycles roared past, he noticed something odd. Their saddlebags seemed unusually heavy, and their formation was too precise for casual riders. These weren't just club members out for a Sunday ride, they were operating with military precision. Later that evening, at his modest cabin in the mountains, Daniel began researching the Black Talon Security Company. The more he dug, the more questions arose. The company had won several government contracts under suspicious circumstances, and their CEO, Victoria Blackwood, had connections to powerful political figures across 3 states. A knock at the door interrupted his investigation. Standing on his porch was Sarah Chen, a local veterinarian he'd known for years. Her face was pale, her hands trembling as she clutched a manila envelope. "Daniel, I need your help," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I found something while treating one of the Steel Viper's dogs. Something that wasn't supposed to be found." Inside the envelope were photographs, surveillance images of government buildings, handwritten notes with dates and times, and most disturbing of all, a list of names. Daniel recognized several of them, judges, police chiefs, and prominent business leaders from across the region. Next to each name was a single word, secured. Sarah's discovery had unwittingly pulled her into something much bigger than either of them realized. As they spread the documents across Daniel's kitchen table, Rex growled softly at the window. Outside, the distant sound of motorcycles echoed through the valleys once again. "They've been watching the clinic," Sarah explained, her professional composure cracking slightly. "I think they know I took these. But there's more. I overheard them talking about something called Project Eclipse. They mentioned the Shadow and Black Talon in the same conversation." Daniel studied the documents more closely, his trained eye catching details others might miss. The surveillance photos weren't amateur work, they'd been taken with professional-grade equipment, using tactical positioning. Whoever was behind this had resources, training, and a clear objective. As the night deepened, Sarah shared more details about her observations at the clinic. The Steel Vipers had been bringing in dogs regularly, German Shepherds, like Rex, all with similar training markers. It was as if someone was building a specialized canine unit, but for what purpose? Rex's behavior had changed too. The usually calm dog seemed unusually interested in Sarah's story, particularly when she mentioned the other German Shepherds. Daniel had always wondered about Rex's past before they found each other at a military surplus auction 5 years ago. The dog's training was exceptional, beyond standard police or military protocols. A plan began to form in Daniel's mind. The Steel Vipers were clearly involved in something bigger than their usual activities, and Black Talon Security seemed to be at the center of it all. But the connection between them and the mysterious Shadow remained elusive. As Sarah prepared to leave, she hesitated at the door. "There's something else," she said, pulling a small object from her pocket. "I found this USB drive hidden in one of the dog's collars. I haven't been able to access the files, they're encrypted, but I thought you might know someone who could help." Daniel took the drive, his mind already racing with possibilities. Whatever was happening in these mountains went beyond local politics and business dealings. Someone was systematically building power and influence, using the Steel Vipers as their ground force and Black Talon as their legitimate face. As Sarah's car disappeared down the mountain road, Daniel turned to Rex. "Well, partner, looks like we've got our work cut out for us." The German Shepherd's intelligent eyes met his, and Daniel could swear there was recognition there, as if Rex knew exactly what they were up against. The autumn wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the promise of approaching winter. In his years of service and private investigation, Daniel had learned that the biggest threats often came not from obvious enemies, but from shadows, the hidden forces that moved in the spaces between power and corruption. As he watched the darkness settle over the mountains, he knew that this case would test everything he'd learned, and perhaps reveal secrets that some would do anything to keep hidden. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give it a like. Tell us which city you're watching from. Let's continue. The encryption on the USB drive proved more challenging than Daniel had anticipated. After 3 days of attempts, he finally reached out to an old colleague from his Special Forces days, Marcus Chen, Sarah's brother and a cybersecurity expert who now worked independently from his home office in Seattle. "This is an amateur work, Dan," Marcus said during their secure video call. "The encryption has military-grade protocols, but with some unusual modifications. Whoever created this wanted to make sure only specific people could access it." While Marcus worked on cracking the drive, Daniel focused on investigating Black Talon security. The company's rapid rise to prominence had begun 3 years ago, coinciding with Victoria Blackwood's appointment as CEO. Before that, she had worked for various private military contractors, her resume reading like a roadmap of global hotspots. Sarah's daily visits to update him on the Steel Vipers' activities became routine. The motorcycle club had increased their presence around her veterinary clinic, though they maintained a careful distance. Their dogs, all German Shepherds, continued to receive regular checkups, each animal displaying the same exceptional training patterns as Rex. Speaking of Rex, Daniel's faithful companion had been acting increasingly unusual. The dog spent hours staring at the encrypted USB drive, and his reaction to the sound of motorcycles had changed from alertness to focused interest, as if trying to communicate something about their connection to his past. One evening, while reviewing satellite images of Black Talon's properties, Daniel noticed something striking. The company had purchased several large parcels of land throughout the Appalachians, all following a specific pattern. When marked on a map, they formed a strategic network of locations, each positioned near critical infrastructure or government facilities. Sarah arrived that night with new information. "I found something in their medical records," she said, spreading out papers on Daniel's desk. "Every German Shepherd they've brought in came from the same place, a facility called Project Eclipse Training Center. But here's the strange part, I can't find any record of this facility existing." Daniel's phone buzzed with a message from Marcus, "You need to see this." The encryption had a hidden signature. Whoever created it used a technique I've only seen once before, in a classified military project from 15 years ago. The pieces were starting to connect, forming a picture that made Daniel increasingly uneasy. Black Talon's land acquisitions, the highly trained German Shepherds, the military-grade encryption, all pointing to an operation far more sophisticated than anyone had imagined. Sarah studied Rex thoughtfully. "Have you noticed how he responds to certain phrases? Yesterday, when one of the Vipers mentioned Eclipse Protocol near the clinic, every dog in the building reacted simultaneously, including Rex, even though he was in the back room." That detail hit Daniel like a thunderbolt. He remembered something from his Special Forces days, rumors of a classified program developing advanced training protocols for military dogs, integrating them into high-level operations. The program was supposedly shut down, but what if it hadn't been? What if it had instead gone private, operating in the shadows? Victoria Blackwood's background suddenly took on new significance. Her career path had intersected with several classified canine training programs, though the details were heavily redacted in public records. The timing of her appointment at Black Talon aligned perfectly with the company's strategic transformation. As the autumn sun set behind the mountains, casting long shadows across Daniel's cabin, Sarah voiced what they were both thinking. This isn't just about local corruption or power plays, is it? The Shadow isn't building a security company, they're building something much bigger. Rex padded over to the window, his posture alert but not aggressive. In the distance, the familiar rumble of motorcycles echoed through the valleys. But this time, it felt less like a threat and more like a piece of a larger puzzle, one that seemed to be centered around the very animal standing guard at Daniel's window. The question was no longer just about what the Steel Vipers and Black Talon were planning. Now, Daniel had to wonder, what was Rex's connection to all of this, and what did Project Eclipse really achieve before it supposedly shut down? The answers, he suspected, were encrypted in the drive that Marcus was working to unlock, hidden beneath layers of classified secrets and carefully constructed facades. Marcus's breakthrough came at dawn. His tired face appeared on Daniel's secure video feed, excitement breaking through his exhaustion. "I've accessed the first layer of files," he announced, sharing his screen. "Dan, this goes deeper than we thought." The decrypted files revealed Project Eclipse wasn't just a training program, it was an elaborate experiment in advanced canine intelligence enhancement. The documents detailed protocols for developing dogs with unprecedented cognitive abilities, capable of understanding complex commands and even making independent tactical decisions. Sarah arrived at the cabin with more troubling news. During a routine checkup of one of the Steel Viper's dogs, she discovered a small synthetic implant at the base of the animal's skull. "It's like nothing I've ever seen before," she explained, showing Daniel the X-rays. "The technology is years ahead of anything currently available." Daniel's attention turned to Rex, who sat watching them with those unnaturally intelligent eyes. Could his faithful companion be carrying similar technology? The thought was unsettling, but it would explain Rex's exceptional abilities and his strange behaviors since this case began. Victoria Blackwood's connection to Project Eclipse became clearer as they dug deeper. Before joining Black Talon, she had led a classified research division focused on integrating enhanced canine units into strategic operations. The project's official termination coincided perfectly with her transition to the private sector. A series of coordinates found in the encrypted files led them to an abandoned research facility hidden in the mountains. Daniel and Sarah discovered the building had been cleared out recently, but not before someone had left behind a crucial piece of evidence, a laboratory journal detailing the project's evolution. The journal revealed that Project Eclipse had achieved breakthrough results with their first generation of enhanced dogs. These animals demonstrated remarkable problem-solving abilities and an almost telepathic connection with their handlers. However, something had gone wrong. The project's leadership had disagreed about the program's direction, leading to a dramatic split. One faction, led by a scientist identified only as Dr. Shadow, wanted to push the boundaries further, suggesting modifications that others considered ethically questionable. When the military threatened to shut down the project, this faction disappeared with several test subjects and critical research data. Sarah's examination of the Steel Viper's dogs took on new significance. Each animal showed signs of recent surgical procedures, consistent with the implementation of neural enhancement technology. But these modifications went beyond the original Project Eclipse protocols, they were more advanced, more invasive. Rex's behavior changed dramatically when they brought him to the abandoned facility. He led them unerringly to a hidden sub-basement, where they found evidence of ongoing research. The setup suggested someone was still actively developing the technology, pushing it in new directions. Marcus called again, his voice urgent. "I've found something in the files about a Phase 2 protocol. They weren't just enhancing the dog's intelligence, they were working on establishing a network, linking multiple enhanced animals together under centralized control." The implications were staggering. An army of enhanced dogs, each as capable as Rex but controlled by a single entity, could be used for unprecedented surveillance and strategic operations. The Steel Vipers weren't just a motorcycle club, they were a distribution network, moving these enhanced animals into position across the region. Sarah discovered more disturbing details in the medical records. The implants she'd found weren't just for enhancement, they contained sophisticated communication technology. These dogs aren't just individually enhanced, she realized. They're being networked together, just like the Phase 2 protocols described. As Daniel processed this information, Rex suddenly became alert, his attention focused intently on the mountains. In the distance, multiple motorcycle engines roared to life simultaneously, their synchronized sound eerily reminiscent of a military formation. But it was Rex's reaction that truly caught Daniel's attention. His faithful companion wasn't showing signs of anxiety or aggression, but rather what appeared to be recognition. The truth about Rex's origins was finally beginning to emerge, along with the true scope of what they were facing. Black Talon wasn't just a security company with unusual influence, it was the public face of something far more ambitious. The Shadow wasn't building an organization, they were creating an invisible network of enhanced canine operatives, hidden in plain sight across the country. Marcus's voice crackled through the secure line with urgency. "I've completed the decryption of the secondary files." Daniel, Rex wasn't just part of Project Eclipse, he was Patient Zero, the first successful enhancement subject. The technology they developed through him became the blueprint for everything that followed. The revelation hit Daniel like a physical force. He looked at Rex, seeing his companion in an entirely new light. The dog met his gaze steadily, and Daniel could now recognize the depth of intelligence there that had always set Rex apart from other trained animals. Sarah arrived at the cabin with Victoria Blackwood's complete personnel file, obtained through her brother's cyber expertise. "Look at this," she said, spreading out documents across the kitchen table. Before Black Talon, she worked on something called neural interface development at a classified facility in Nevada. The dates align perfectly with Rex's initial enhancement procedures. The pieces were falling into place. Rex's exceptional abilities, his instant rapport with Daniel at the military surplus auction, his recent behavior changes, it all stemmed from his role as the original Project Eclipse subject. But something still didn't add up. If Rex was their first success, Sarah pondered, examining more medical records, why would they let him go? Enhanced animals like him would be invaluable to the program. The answer came from Marcus's latest decryption. According to these logs, Rex displayed an unexpected trait, resistance to external control. While other enhanced dogs could be networked and controlled remotely, Rex maintained his independence. He could participate in the network but couldn't be controlled by it. This revelation explained why the Shadow's operation seemed so interested in Rex. He wasn't just the original test subject, he was proof that their control system wasn't foolproof. His very existence threatened their entire operation. Daniel found himself recalling moments from his 5 years with Rex, times when the dog's actions had seemed almost prescient, saving them from dangers before they were apparent. What he'd attributed to exceptional training had been something far more extraordinary. Sarah's analysis of the implant technology revealed another crucial detail. The newer versions they're using with the Steel Viper's dogs, they're more sophisticated, but also more invasive. They're sacrificing independent thought for greater control. Through Rex's enhanced senses, they began detecting patterns in the Steel Viper's movements. The motorcycle club's apparently random patrols were actually creating a sophisticated surveillance network, using the enhanced dogs to monitor and gather intelligence across the entire region. Victoria Blackwood's role became clearer as they investigated further. She hadn't just continued Project Eclipse, she had transformed it. Black Talon's security contracts provided perfect cover for positioning enhanced canine units in strategic locations, creating an invisible web of surveillance and control. As they processed this information, Rex suddenly stood alert, his attention focused on something only he could perceive. Through the cabin's windows, they could see other German shepherds in the distance, positioned at regular intervals along the mountaintop. They were being watched, not by humans, but by an interconnected network of enhanced animals. Daniel's tactical training kicked in as he realized the implications. The Shadow wasn't just building a security force, they were creating an unprecedented surveillance and control system, using enhanced dogs as their eyes and ears. Traditional security measures would be useless against operators that most people would mistake for ordinary pets. Sarah discovered additional modifications in the latest medical records. They're not just enhancing cognitive abilities anymore. The new implants include sophisticated data storage and transmission capabilities. Each dog is essentially a mobile surveillance unit, constantly collecting and relaying information. Rex's behavior had changed again. He moved through the cabin with renewed purpose, as if he was finally able to communicate something he'd known all along. He led Daniel to his old service collar, tucked away in a drawer since their first meeting at the surplus auction. Hidden in the collar's lining, they found a micro SD card, carefully preserved. When Marcus analyzed its contents, he found encrypted data that could only have come from within Project Eclipse, data that Rex had somehow managed to smuggle out when he escaped the program. The Shadow's urgent interest in locating Rex now made perfect sense. He wasn't just a prototype, he was carrying critical information about the project's early stages, possibly including vulnerabilities in their control systems. Moreover, his continued independence proved that their attempts at creating perfectly controlled enhanced dogs could be resisted. As night fell over the mountains, the distant sound of motorcycles grew closer. But now they understood what was really approaching, not just the Steel Vipers, but a coordinated network of enhanced canine units, all linked together under centralized control. Their only advantage was Rex, the one enhanced dog who had maintained his independence, and who had chosen, 5 years ago, to place his trust in Daniel. The micro SD card from Rex's collar revealed the true scope of Project Eclipse. Marcus's analysis uncovered detailed plans for a nationwide network of enhanced canine units, strategically positioned to monitor and influence key sectors of society. The Shadow wasn't just building a security system, they were creating an invisible infrastructure of surveillance and control. Victoria Blackwood's latest movements provided the final piece of the puzzle. Sarah's contact at the local airport reported that Black Talon's private jets had been making regular flights to a remote facility in the Nevada desert, the same location where Rex had originally been enhanced. They're scaling up, Marcus explained during their secure call. The facility's power consumption has increased tenfold in the last month. Whatever they're planning, it's reaching a critical phase. Daniel noticed Rex's behavior becoming increasingly focused. The dog spent hours staring at the mountain ridges, as if monitoring an invisible network that only he could perceive. Through Rex's reactions, they began to understand the pattern of the Steel Viper's movements. They weren't just patrolling, they were positioning their enhanced dogs in a precise geometric pattern across the region. Sarah's analysis of the latest medical data revealed something alarming. The new implants have a feature we hadn't noticed before, she reported, showing Daniel the detailed scans. They're not just for communication, they're designed to influence human behavior through subsonic frequencies. They're turning these dogs into tools for mass manipulation. The implications were staggering. With enhanced dogs placed in homes, businesses, and government facilities across the country, the Shadow would have unprecedented ability to influence decision-makers at every level. The project's true goal wasn't just surveillance, it was subtle control of society itself. Rex led them to discover a hidden transmission facility in the mountains, disguised as an ordinary radio tower. The equipment inside matched the specifications from the Project Eclipse files. It was a relay station for the Canine Network, coordinating their activities across hundreds of miles. Daniel's military training helped him recognize the strategy. The Shadow was creating a self-sustaining system that could operate independently of human oversight. Once established, it would be nearly impossible to detect or dismantle. The enhanced dogs would appear as ordinary pets and service animals, their true purpose hidden behind a veil of normalcy. Sarah found evidence that Black Talon was preparing to launch Phase 3, a massive expansion of their enhanced canine program. They had already secured contracts to provide security dogs to major corporations, government agencies, and law enforcement departments nationwide. Rex's original enhancement made him uniquely valuable. He was proof that the control system could be resisted, that enhanced dogs could maintain their independence. The micro SD card he'd smuggled out contained the original programming protocols before the Shadow had modified them to ensure absolute control. As they pieced together the full scope of the operation, they realized they were running out of time. The Shadow's network was nearly complete, and once fully activated, it would be virtually impossible to counter. Their only advantage was Rex's ability to interact with the network while remaining independent of its control. Victoria Blackwood's next move confirmed their fears. Black Talon announced a major public initiative to provide specially trained service dogs to schools, hospitals, and community centers across the country. It was the perfect cover for positioning their enhanced units exactly where they would have the most influence. The Steel Viper's patrols had changed their pattern, now forming concentric circles around Daniel's location. Through Rex, they could sense the network activating, preparing for something significant. The enhanced dogs were being synchronized, their collective capabilities focused on a single objective. As night fell over the Appalachians, Daniel, Sarah, and Rex watched the lights of motorcycle patrols moving through the valleys below. The moment of convergence was approaching. The Shadow's years of planning were about to culminate in a massive power play that would reshape society from the inside out. Their only hope lay in Rex's unique abilities and the original Project Eclipse protocols hidden in that micro SD card. Somewhere in that data was the key to disrupting the network before it could be fully activated. But to use it, they would have to get close to the Nevada facility, the heart of the Shadow's operation, where Victoria Blackwood was preparing to launch the final phase of her plan. The Nevada facility rose from the desert like a mirage, its modern architecture disguising its true purpose. Daniel, Sarah, and Rex had tracked Victoria Blackwood to this location, where Project Eclipse had first begun. Through Rex's enhanced senses, they could detect the presence of dozens of other modified dogs within the compound. Marcus had made a crucial breakthrough with the micro SD card data. The original Project Eclipse protocol included a failsafe, he explained through their secure channel. A sequence that could reset all enhanced dogs to their base programming, removing the control overlays. But it has to be transmitted from inside the primary control center. Sarah's analysis of the facility's blueprints, obtained through her brother's cyber skills, revealed something unexpected. The building's design matches frequencies found in the dog's neural implants. The entire structure is one giant transmission array. Rex led them to a hidden entrance, his behavior suggesting he remembered this place. Inside, they found evidence of Victoria Blackwood's endgame, a massive control center designed to coordinate enhanced dogs across the entire country. Screens showed hundreds of locations where units were already positioned, waiting to be activated. Through Rex's connection to the network, they could sense the other enhanced dogs becoming more synchronized, their collective intelligence growing stronger. Victoria Blackwood had created something unprecedented, a distributed intelligence system using enhanced canines as its nodes. Sarah discovered the truth about Victoria's motivation in her private files. She hadn't started Project Eclipse for power or control, she genuinely believed she was creating a better world. In her vision, the enhanced dogs would subtly guide humanity away from conflict and destruction, using their influence to promote cooperation and stability. But the price of this manufactured peace was freedom itself. The network would manipulate human behavior on a fundamental level, creating artificial harmony through invisible control. It was a gilded cage, wrapped in the appearance of natural social evolution. Daniel realized that Rex hadn't randomly chosen him at the surplus auction. The dog's enhanced intelligence had recognized something in Daniel, someone who would understand the moral complexity of their situation and have the courage to act on it. As they reached the central control room, they found Victoria waiting for them. "I wondered if Rex would find his way back here," she said, genuine affection in her voice. "He was always special, the first to show us what was possible, and the only one who truly understood the responsibility that came with enhancement." The facility systems were already powering up, preparing to activate the nationwide network. On screens around them, they could see the enhanced dogs positioned throughout the country, ready to become the invisible architects of humanity's future. But Rex had one final surprise. As Victoria initiated the activation sequence, Rex connected to the network in a way they hadn't anticipated. Instead of being subsumed by the collective, he became a focal point for resistance. Through him, the original Project Eclipse protocols, the ones that emphasized independence and choice, began spreading through the network. Sarah monitored the process through the facility systems. The dogs, they're not just receiving Rex's signal, they're choosing to accept it. The capacity for independent thought was never truly suppressed, just dormant. Victoria watched her life's work transform before her eyes. The network she created was still forming, but instead of an instrument of control, it was becoming something else, a bridge between species based on mutual understanding and choice. In the end, the enhanced dogs remained enhanced, their incredible capabilities intact. But like Rex, they now had the freedom to choose how to use their abilities. The Shadow's dream of controlled perfection gave way to something more complex, but ultimately more meaningful, genuine partnership between humans and enhanced canines. The Steel Viper's dogs, freed from external control, chose to stay with their handlers, their relationships evolving into true partnerships. Black Talon was transformed under new leadership, its resources redirected toward legitimate security work and animal welfare. As Daniel, Sarah, and Rex drove back through the Appalachian Mountains, they knew their world had changed fundamentally. The enhanced dogs would remain a part of society, but as allies and partners rather than unwitting tools of control. Rex rested his head on Daniel's lap as they watched the sunset from their cabin's porch. The dog's enhanced intelligence now felt less like a scientific miracle and more like a reminder that consciousness and free will were gifts meant to be cherished, not controlled. Sarah joined them, bringing the news that Victoria had agreed to help establish ethical guidelines for human-animal enhancement technology. The Shadow's vision of perfect control had given way to something more challenging but ultimately more rewarding, a future where enhanced intelligence served to build bridges rather than establish control. The mountains kept their secrets as autumn turned to winter, but in homes and buildings across the country, enhanced dogs made individual choices to protect and support their human companions, not through compulsion but through understanding. It wasn't the perfect world the Shadow had envisioned, but it was something better, a world where even those with the power to control others could choose a different path. End of story, dear readers. We hope you've enjoyed this journey through the mountains of Appalachia with Daniel, Rex, and Sarah. Their story reminds us that true partnerships are built on trust and mutual respect, not control. If this tale of loyalty, independence, and the complex relationship between humans and animals has touched you, please subscribe to our channel for more thought-provoking stories that explore the boundaries of what's possible. Don't forget to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you do if you discovered your loyal companion had extraordinary abilities? Join our community and be part of these amazing storytelling experiences. We have new stories waiting for you every week.